If you're a Leo, today marks a significant turning point in your personal journey. The energy around you is shifting in a noticeable way, and whether you're aware of it or not, your presence is drawing attention, naturally and effortlessly. There's a quiet truth beginning to surface. Those who once underestimated you, who overlooked your presence and value, are starting to see things differently. They're realizing what they failed to recognize before. But the difference now is that you've already moved forward. You're no longer waiting for validation from others. You've chosen to invest in your own growth, and that alone is changing how the world responds to you. The universe is offering you a clear opportunity, not random luck, but a direct result of the effort and inner work you've consistently committed to. This is a moment to reassess your value and make choices that align with who you've become, not who you once were. This internal shift is not isolated. It sets the stage for a series of external developments that directly impact practical areas of your life, particularly finances, relationships, and career direction. And from here, you'll begin to notice specific signs that your path is evolving in ways that support your next level. There's a shift happening in the way you relate to financial stability, and it's not just about the numbers. It's about what those numbers represent: security, independence, and the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can take care of yourself and make decisions on your own terms. The changes unfolding now in your financial life are not just practical in nature. They reflect a deeper turning point in how you perceive your own value and capacity. You may soon find yourself encountering an unexpected opportunity that alters your financial outlook. This could take the form of a job offer, a raise, a new role with greater responsibility, or a project that finally begins to generate returns. In some cases, it might come through a source you didn't anticipate, something long delayed, or a conversation that opens a door you hadn't even been looking toward. What matters most is not just what arrives, but how prepared you are to receive it. This moment requires you to stay present and discerning. The opportunity may not announce itself with fanfare. It may appear quietly as a small shift in your current environment, a suggestion made in passing, or a chance to step into something you had previously set aside. If you're too caught up in old narratives about scarcity or self-doubt, you might miss it. But if you meet this moment with openness and grounded awareness, you'll recognize it for what it truly is: a turning point, not a coincidence. It's also possible that this shift will ask you to make adjustments, practical, logistical, or even emotional. It might require you to step outside your comfort zone, to renegotiate terms, or to let go of an outdated idea of how your income should flow. At first, this might feel unsettling, but in truth, it's a necessary step toward a more sustainable and empowering structure. You are not being pushed off course. You're being realigned with something that reflects your current stage of growth. You've done enough of the inner work to stop settling for survival. This is a period where you're being called to create stability, not just chase it. And that means approaching your finances with greater intention, being clear about what you need, honest about what no longer serves you, and strategic in how you respond to new opportunities. Trust yourself in this process. The clarity you've been cultivating in other areas of life is now becoming an asset in how you manage your resources. What once felt out of reach is becoming possible, not because the world has suddenly changed, but because you have. And that change is quietly beginning to reshape everything around you. The changes you're experiencing internally are beginning to echo in your relationships. When your sense of self becomes more grounded, when you start to see your own worth clearly, it inevitably affects the way you connect with others. You begin to expect more from your relationships, not in the sense of demanding perfection, but in terms of emotional honesty, mutual respect, and shared effort. And once you've outgrown old patterns of overextending yourself just to be understood or accepted, it becomes difficult to tolerate anything that falls short of that standard. You may notice that some dynamics in your personal life feel different now. Conversations that used to be easy might now feel hollow. Connections that once felt essential might seem less significant. This doesn't mean anything is wrong. It simply means you're evolving. and not every relationship will evolve with you at the same pace. Some will deepen naturally, others may fall away. The point isn't to hold on or to push people away, but to pay attention to what feels reciprocal and what feels one-sided. If you're in a relationship, this could be a moment of reevaluation. Not necessarily because there's conflict, but because you're starting to ask different questions. Are we moving in the same direction? Are we growing together or just staying in place out of habit? Are our values aligned in a way that makes us stronger? Or are we simply coexisting without depth? You may find that you crave more emotional clarity, more transparency in how love is expressed and how care is given. This doesn't come from a place of dissatisfaction, but from maturity. You no longer want gestures that are performative or inconsistent. You want presence, communication, and shared accountability. And if that isn't available in your current relationship, you might begin to feel a quiet distance forming, even if nothing has been said aloud yet. For those who are single, your sense of discernment is changing. What once felt exciting now might feel superficial. You're less interested in being entertained and more interested in being seen, truly seen, not just noticed. You might find yourself feeling less patient with surface-level interactions or emotionally unavailable people. This is a sign of progress, not cynicism. It means your capacity for connection has deepened, and so has your ability to recognize what's worth investing in. It's also possible that someone from the past may try to reconnect with you, not necessarily to hurt or manipulate you, but because they feel the change in your energy, and they're curious, perhaps even regretful. Whether or not you allow that door to open again is entirely up to you, but ask yourself this: is this a connection that belongs in your future, or is it just a reminder of how far you've come? The most important thing to remember is that you don't need to prove your worth to anyone. You don't need to over-explain your boundaries or convince someone of your value. The relationships that truly belong in your life will recognize your presence without needing a wake-up call. They will meet you with the same depth, clarity, and consistency you're learning to offer yourself. This shift in your relational world is not an isolated experience. It's deeply intertwined with how you are beginning to redefine your role, your presence, and your voice, not just in private, but in public spheres as well. The way you show up in relationships is a reflection of how you show up in your broader life, at work, in collaborations, in the choices you make every day that signal what you're willing to carry forward and what you're ready to release. You're beginning to realize that personal alignment isn't just something that happens behind closed doors. It's something that must extend into your professional life, your ambitions, and your vision for the future. You're learning that integrity means consistency across all areas, not just in how you love, but in how you lead, how you contribute, and how you take up space in environments that may have once underestimated you. So, if you've been feeling a quiet tension in your work life, if something feels misaligned, stagnant, or simply too small for who you've become, pay attention to that. It's not restlessness for the sake of change. It's your inner self catching up to the life you've built around you and asking you to adjust the structure accordingly. You may begin to feel a push toward greater responsibility, toward a leadership role, or simply toward work that carries more meaning and depth. That push may not come as a formal offer right away. It might come as a sense of discomfort where there was once ease, or a growing curiosity about something outside your current role. You may notice yourself questioning why you're doing what you're doing, and whether it's still worth the time, energy, and skill you're bringing to it. This isn't about abandoning everything or making drastic moves out of impulse. It's about clarity. It's about asking more of your professional life because you're asking more of yourself. And rightly so. When you've outgrown an old framework, it's not a failure, it's a sign of progress. You're not meant to stay where you no longer feel challenged or respected, and just like in your personal life, you'll need to make decisions with discernment. Not every opportunity will be aligned, even if it looks appealing on the surface, but what you now have, perhaps for the first time in a long while, is the ability to choose from a place of self-respect rather than urgency. You're moving from a mindset of proving yourself to one of positioning yourself, and that changes everything. The question ahead isn't just what kind of work you want to do, but what kind of life you want your work to support. What kind of rhythm? What kind of energy? What kind of impact? These are the considerations that will guide your next step. Not titles, not expectations, not pressure. And from here, this conversation naturally continues into an even more essential realm: your health, your energy, and your ability to sustain all of this growth without burning yourself out. Because even the most aligned opportunities lose meaning if they come at the cost of your well-being. As the pace of change increases in other areas of your life, relationships, work, finances, it becomes even more important to bring your attention inward to your health and overall well-being. Growth, no matter how positive, is still energy and intensive. And while it's easy to focus on the outcomes, the opportunities, the decisions, the momentum, what often gets overlooked is the quieter foundational work of maintaining your physical, mental, and emotional equilibrium. This isn't just about rest or nutrition or exercise, though those things certainly matter. It's about how you manage your energy throughout the day, how you notice when you're stretching yourself too thin, how you listen when your body is speaking, even in subtle ways, through fatigue, tension, irritability, or a sense of disconnection. These signals are not interruptions to your progress. They are part of your guidance system. The more in tune you become with them, the more sustainable your progress will be. There's a difference between pushing forward and moving forward. One comes from force, the other from alignment. You're being asked now to check in with yourself more honestly. Are you doing what you're doing from a grounded place? Or are you running on autopilot, trying to keep up with expectations that no longer reflect your current reality? Your well-being isn't a separate category from your goals. It's the core of everything. When you're centered, nourished, rested, and connected to your own rhythms, you make better decisions. You communicate more clearly. You navigate pressure with more steadiness. And perhaps most importantly, you begin to feel the life you're building, not just execute it. You might find yourself drawn to make small but meaningful changes in your daily routines, waking up earlier, being more intentional with your time, adjusting your environment to support your focus and calm. These aren't grand gestures, but they're deeply impactful over time. They're quiet choices that reinforce a deeper truth, that your energy is not infinite, and that honoring it is an act of self-respect. If you've been neglecting certain aspects of your well-being, whether physical care, emotional processing, or simple rest, this is the time to bring those areas back into balance. Not because you've failed, but because you've evolved. The version of you that's emerging now needs a different kind of support than the version who once carried everything without pause. And as you begin to restore that inner balance, you'll notice something else. Your relationships feel less draining. Your work becomes more focused. Your confidence grows, not from striving, but from clarity. Because when your body and mind are well, your presence becomes even stronger, less reactive, more intentional, more whole. This brings us to one final, quiet but powerful thread in this larger movement of your life: your sense of belonging. The spaces you choose, the people you let in, the environments you create around you. All of this begins to shift as your internal clarity becomes stronger, as you begin to realign your inner life, your energy, your well-being, your sense of self-worth. It's only natural that your sense of belonging begins to evolve as well. The spaces you move through, the people you keep close, and the environments you spend your time in all begin to feel different. Under this new level of awareness, you may find yourself paying closer attention to what energizes you and what drains you, not just in obvious ways, but in subtle undercurrents that you may have previously ignored. This isn't about cutting people off or withdrawing from the world. It's about becoming more intentional with where you place your energy. You're starting to see that not every room deserves your presence. Not every conversation requires your input, and not every relationship needs to be preserved out of familiarity. You're not pushing anyone away. You're simply recognizing the difference between connection and obligation. There may be moments now where you feel out of sync with certain groups or social dynamics that once felt comfortable. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you or them. It simply means you're changing, and your capacity for meaningful connection is becoming more refined. You want depth over small talk, presence over performance, authenticity over convenience. And naturally, not every space or person will meet you there. At the same time, you might find yourself drawn toward new communities, new conversations, or new ways of relating that feel more aligned with who you are becoming. These might not be loud or obvious shifts, but they matter. You may connect with someone who brings calm where there was once noise. You may be invited into spaces that support reflection, learning, or creative growth. You may even discover a renewed sense of belonging in solitude, not isolation, but quiet self-connection that centers you before you reach outward. It's also worth noticing how your role in relationships is shifting. You may have spent years being the one who carried, who fixed, who held things together, but now, with greater self-awareness, comes a deeper understanding of boundaries, not as walls, but as structures that preserve your energy and integrity. You're learning that you don't need to be everything to everyone. You don't need to explain yourself endlessly or dilute your truth to maintain harmony. You can simply stand as you are and allow others to meet you from where they truly are. This quiet inner strength will begin to reshape how you move through the world. It will change how you participate in group dynamics, how you choose your commitments, and how you define success. Not just as achievement, but as alignment. You may even find that your presence becomes a kind of anchor for others, not because you're trying to hold everything together, but because you've become steady within yourself. And perhaps most importantly, you'll start to notice that the more you honor your own rhythm, the more naturally you begin to attract people and spaces that honor it too. You no longer have to chase belonging. You become it through how you show up, how you listen to yourself, and how you choose to live. What you're moving through now is more than just a series of changes. It's a redefinition of who you are and how you choose to live. Piece by piece, you've been stepping out of old frameworks, some built on habit, others on survival, and some simply on the version of you that no longer exists. And in their place, you're building something quieter, steadier, more intentional, something that reflects not only your growth, but your readiness to live in alignment with it. You've come to see that success isn't just about outcomes, it's about integrity. That love isn't just about connection, it's about reciprocity. That health isn't just about discipline, it's about respect for your own limits and needs. And that belonging isn't something you earn, it's something you choose, moment by moment, in the spaces where you feel safe enough to be fully yourself. This cycle has asked a lot from you. It has required patience, reflection, honesty, and at times the willingness to let go of things you once thought were permanent. But in return, it's offering you something much deeper: clarity, resilience, and a way of living that no longer demands that you fragment yourself just to fit in or move forward. You're not chasing momentum anymore. You're building direction. You're not seeking validation. You're creating alignment. And in that quiet shift, everything begins to change. So wherever you go from here, whether it's a new role, a new connection, a new rhythm, or simply a new way of relating to yourself, go with the full awareness of who you've become. Carry your standards, your boundaries, and your hard-earned clarity with you. You don't need to explain it to anyone. You just need to live it fully and trust that what's meant for you will recognize you at that level. You've done more inner work than you realize. Now, life is simply starting to reflect it back to you. Before we close today, take a moment to acknowledge how far you've come. Not just in what you've achieved, but in how you've grown, how you've shown up for yourself, and how you've begun to move through life with more clarity and self-respect. None of this has happened by chance. It's a reflection of the work you've been doing quietly, consistently, often without recognition, but never without impact. The path ahead may still hold uncertainty, but you're not navigating it from the same place you once were. You're meeting life now with more intention, more steadiness, and a deeper understanding of what truly matters to you. And that makes all the difference. Thank you for spending this time here with me today. If something in this message resonated with you, I encourage you to carry it forward, not just as insight, but as a quiet reminder of your own strength, your own wisdom, and your own rhythm. Until next time, take care of yourself, deeply, honestly, and consistently. You're building something meaningful, and you don't need to rush it. Let it unfold at the pace of your own integrity. See you soon.